So let's just make a start. Those who've just joined, welcome, welcome. If you can have your camera on, that's great. It's nice to be able to see each other, makes it feel a little bit more like we're in a room together. And into the chat, if you could just add to the very honest and gritty statements about where you're at in virtual workshops. And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to screen share. And I'm really looking forward to this session, actually, really looking forward to it. I hope we get some really practical details for you. So let's just let the last couple of people in. Okay, just coming in now. Loads of people. Okay. Yeah, so as I was saying, I'm really looking forward to tonight. And, you know, the hot news is that actually 9 months ago, this whole concept was new to all of us. So those of you who are finding it new and a bit scary, that's where all of us were when the first lockdown happened last March. And it's been interesting, hasn't it, in all of the COVID journey over the last, can you believe it's been 9, nearly 10 months? You know, some consultants in the team were ready from the beginning to just embrace the change, do this a different way. For the first couple of weeks, I don't think I could speak. I couldn't get my head around what was going on in the world, and then kind of rallied round, and then many others have joined in the journey of virtual workshops over the last 9 months. And you know, I was reading your comments in the chat about where you were all up to with virtual workshops, I could relate to so much of what you typed. But actually what we did as a team together, we've embraced the change, we've embraced virtual workshops, and now get the chance to bring all of this to you tonight as those who are yet to get started or are just finding your feet with it, those that need convincing, those that are terrified. That absolutely is where everybody has been in the journey. And I know I laughed earlier and said, feel the fear and do it anyway. There is an element of that. But I guess the first thing for us to consider is why bother? You know, as we're doing this, what is it that we're going to get out of this? And I think the key thing is to focus on your customers. So actually, what you're going to do by introducing this element to your MYRO journey is connection and engagement for your customers. And honestly, some have said these workshops have kept me sane. A social lifeline that just means that they've got social events to come to. Now, not all of them will be in that position because some people are zoomed out. They are on Zoom, on screens all day, and they can't do that for social events as well. That's fine too. We've got plans for those people. And what I would say is absolutely offer customers who are not coming to your virtual workshops the chance to try the same products in their own space by themselves. But what we're talking about here are those that would really value that social connection and engagement and the chance to enjoy and find out about products. Now, when I started Zooms back last March, and yes, I was terrified, and yes, I've needed to fine tune lots of things along the way. What I found was that customers didn't worry about it being perfect. Those of you who've already started in your workshops, you might want to add to the chat as I'm talking about this, your own experience. It wasn't about a slick presentation. It was about the chance to come together and enjoy products, chat, have a social event, compare notes a bit on how we were finding life. You know, we've talked about all sorts of things during those workshops. So if you make that the focus rather than your fear, it might just give you the boost. It's often the way, isn't it, when we take our eyes off ourselves and turn them outwards, it gives us the courage to go and do stuff. But don't worry about it being perfect. Okay, so what products do you use? Well, I would say if you are a new consultant, your starter kit products and the samples that are available that are the same as your starter kit products would be the best place to start. The reason I'm saying that is that, for instance, white tea eye gel that is in your starter kit is quite difficult to put into a sample pot. But why would you, as there are sample sachets in business tools? So you might just want to enhance your kit with a few samples. They're very inexpensive, of the ones that are available with your starter kit. Victoria, I'm just going to ask you, having done your launch event with your starter kit and you enhanced it with some samples, perhaps you could put into the chat the samples that you used. Guys, I wanted to say at the beginning that this session is being recorded, so you can watch this as many times as you like. And if you want to have the slide deck, please feel free. I love that some of you are wanting to take pictures of the screen. Really happy for you to do that. But if it saves you a job whilst you're taking notes, I'm really happy for you to use the resources afterwards, and we'll upload the recording to our team YouTube channel. So going back to what I was saying about the products to use, new consultants, start with your starter kit and do some workshops using that kit so that you really get used to those products and find your feet in promoting those. And we actually did a starter kit workshop training back in the autumn, and it's in the YouTube channel. If you can't find it, please just ask your upline leader to point you in the direction of that. But many of the products that are in the current starter kit are still in that one, and I'm going to be redoing the video in the next few weeks. So you'll be able to find a workshop absolutely using those products. And we also have product cue cards, so some prompts of things to say about those products available. Some are in downloads, there's lots of resource there, but I've also created some specifically for virtual workshops. And really what the starter kit involves is the facial collections, doesn't it? It's a nice introduction to the facial products, and you want to make sure that your workshops absolutely do have facial collections at some time. So if you're an experienced consultant and you've been running parties and workshops for a while, make sure that in your virtual workshop collection, you are using the facial products at some point. And then what we've also got is monthly themes in line with what Neil-Jud Remedies are doing every month. So actually we'll have marketing focus and sometimes promotions each month. So this month has been the facial collections, and obviously we've got the current promotion that's running with that. Next month is Age Well and Stress Less. And March is sleep, because it's World Sleep Day. So we'll have a beauty sleep theme in March. And funnily enough, that absolutely runs with the products that are in the Wellbeing Guide. So you'd think it was all joined up thinking, wouldn't you? That's because it is. So actually what you can do is, with confidence, plan your workshops into each month, knowing that there's going to be training and support and a kind of monthly theme that supports that workshop theme. So what I've done is I've sort of divvied up this training into different sections, and the first one is your preparation. So in your preparation, real practical details of running these virtual workshops. The first thing to do is to talk to your customers about it. Friends, if you haven't yet got a customer base, and just paint the picture. So I was thinking it would be really nice to try some products, have some time to get together. I'll send some samples out in the post, you know, kind of paint the picture of what that would look like for them, and ask them if they would be interested in coming to them. So you're not actually asking people for a specific date at this point. You're just getting a general feel of interest. That's the first place to start, because some customers will want the Zooms, as I mentioned at the beginning, and some will be happy just having one-to-one connection with you. It'll be different for different people. So what you want to do is have a group communication, however you want to do that. I use a WhatsApp broadcast list, but maybe you use messenger groups, maybe you're going to use email, whatever it is for you, for those people who want details of your workshops coming up. So do you see how I'm already suggesting that you go beyond the getting over the hurdle of the first workshop that you're going to do, and have a much bigger picture perspective. If you've got a group of people who are interested and you know you're going to have monthly themes, once you've got past the fear and you're into your stride with a couple of these, then actually that group of people can come and go in those workshops, make some of them not be available for others, but they know the themes are going to come. And then those of us who've been doing this for a little while now, for over the last 9 months, we've found that it's a really good idea to put workshops that you're hosting in your diary every month. So how many of those you do is up to you. But obviously there are going to be some that you can host, and there'll be some that other people could host. But if you know that yours are absolutely in the diary, and you know how many more that you'd like to book with other hosts, it means you can plan properly. And if they're in the diary, you're much more focused on making them happen. So the question to ask yourself as you're taking notes is, how many in a month would I like to do if I was to do this? And that will depend on income expectation, time availability, how easy it is to organise space to be with your customers for a little while. Think daytime and evening. Some people are running afternoon workshops or morning workshops, and some are doing evenings. Just as a slight tip, I'm finding that Friday and Saturday nights for workshops are really popular. I think because those are normally time for people socialising, and because nobody can go anywhere, it's actually really nice to have something in the diary for then. Having said that, I did one on Sunday afternoon for a group that are a family unit and some best friends. So I don't know, those of you who are running workshops, put into the chat what you're finding customers are plumping for. So the workshop, how many in the workshops in a month that you want will provide consistency. It's key for you in your business, because you will get into a regular pace with what you're doing, but it actually really matters to your customers, because they then know that this is something you're offering on a regular basis. It was only as I got consistent with these, probably at the beginning of the summer, that I found that customers were keen to invite friends. And I think it builds slowly, when people feel that there's a consistent message coming through. Okay. And then the other thing in your preparation is to ask some of your customers if they'd like to host. And if you don't have customers at the moment, maybe some of your best friends or close family will help you get out, get on with this. Again, paint the picture of what will be in it for them. So if you've got a customer who loves the product and is a regular purchaser, you might mention the free and half price shopping that comes with being a host. If you've got somebody who has a big circle of friends, you might say, actually, it must be really difficult for you not to see each other. I'll give you an example. I was out on a dog walk recently, and I bumped into a lady who used to be a mum in the playground when my kids were at primary school, and we haven't seen each other for years. And we were just chatting about people that we knew in common, and she'd stayed in touch with different people because her children were. So my eldest was her youngest, so she'd got friends that she'd stayed in touch with because we were in slightly different circles. And she said that normally they get together for New Year's Eve, and of course it wasn't going to happen this time. So you can see where the conversation went. It wasn't for New Year's Eve, but it was just like, actually, as we talked about what we were doing work-wise, I said one of the things I've been doing is gathering people together that usually spend time together, and maybe you'd like to host one. And she said she'd ask them, and I had a message this week to say that they want to do that, and it's a booking for February. So it's using those kind of opportunities to get the conversation started. And then some of you have got hosts from before lockdown started. So those people who hosted events in the old days when we were able to meet up in each other's houses, you could explain the changes to them and say, it's not a problem, we can still do this, but let's just take it virtual. Right, before I go on, I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat and see if there's anything I should be picking up there. If anybody's got any questions on anything that I've said so far, do unmute yourself and come in. Yeah, no, okay, that's all good. Thanks for your contributions, guys, as you're commenting in the post, those of you who've been doing this. So the virtual workshop timeline, what's that going to look like? So let's do the build up to the actual event, because I think one of the key things that we've learned is that preparation really matters. Because it's virtual, you want to make every opportunity to make connection with the people who are going to come. So the first thing is to pick up on what I was saying about the monthly themes. So in the last week of each month, we're going to do the training for the theme of the following month. So I told you that February's theme for MYR marketing is age well, stress less. So guess what? A couple of days before January ends, that training is going to happen. So you can book it with confidence into February, knowing that the training is there. And if you can't make the evening of the 27th, it'll be 8 o'clock or 8:30. I can't remember which time I put in there now. They are all recorded and they will all be in the team YouTube channel and on the belovelies.com website. So you'll be able to access them there. At the end of February, don't forget February's short. The last week of February, we'll do the training for the March themes and so on as we go. I haven't given you the future dates because I know what the head of marketing's like and sometimes the plan changes. So we'll try and work a couple of months ahead, but look out for changes on my team Facebook group and obviously through your own leaders. So you're going to go for a workshop. The date's in your diary. And 2 weeks before your workshop, you need to put the word out there. Right, I'm going for it. So you've done your preparation, you found some people who might theoretically be interested in coming, and we're off. We're going to make this happen. So jobs to do 2 weeks before is put the word out there. You can use an image or you can just do a post. It's up to you to advertise your workshop. Make that whatever you want it to be and plan the samples that you're going to use. So I will make recommendations in the training. However, if you've got different samples and you want to change it up a bit, or there's a particular product to that theme that you particularly like, it's really fine. You are allowed to deviate from the script. And then as the replies start to come in, I would suggest that you encourage them to message you personally to say that they'd like to come, because sometimes people don't like posting in a group. Offer extra goodies for bringing a friend or two. And this is really making a difference to me. It is quite degrading what some people will do for goodies. So the winter skin workshop that I did on Saturday, I had 13 attendees and 7 of them were guests of the other 6. One lady brought 3 friends and she's now going to host in February. And that's how it works. So if they don't want to host themselves, just bringing a friend or 2 and offering them extras is a good way to make that kind of stepping stone between being a customer and being a host. So I haven't specified to those guests, to those customers what their extra goodies will be. And the reason I've done that is that some orders can be delivered. So it's much easier to use Yes Please gifts and host gifts. And some are being posted direct. So at that point, I would put a few samples in an envelope and post those, because obviously postage wise, that's going to be a lot cheaper than posting bottles of things. It can get a bit muddly. So don't make a promise unless you know that they're, think through the practicalities of delivery. Jackie's saying I should have done that with mine this week. It's fine. This is all about fine tuning. Do review and apply, Jackie. It's all good. So then a couple of days after that, sort of 10 to 12 days before the workshop, make connection with individual customers and mention that workshop in conversations. I used to think that because I put it out there and they hadn't replied, that meant they didn't want to come, and that is so not the case. A little nudge when actually your workshop is not as much as a priority as we think it is, often brings further results. And I did have one with one that I did before Christmas. I was in a conversation with a customer about her Christmas order, and I said, "Are you going to make it to the next workshop?" And she said, yeah, it's already in my diary. She just hadn't told me. So it was really good that I actually had nudged that conversation. Please don't assume that they've seen it. But if there are specific individual customers for whom the subject matter is relevant, it's good to make connection with them and be proactive. So let me give you an example. I've got certain people who buy Beauty Sleep Concentrate from me as a regular purchase. When it comes to the sleep workshop, whether or not they're in my workshop list, I'm going to mention the workshop to them, because I want them to understand the wider picture of sleep and a more holistic message about sleep. They might come to that one workshop having never come to one before, just because of the theme. So it's not our job to assume, it's our job to put the information out there and ask the questions and let the customers make the decisions. Okay. So 9 days-ish before the workshop. So we're going from 14 days to a couple of days later, and then the next day or so, do a last call for attendees. So a general message to the group of people who wanted to know about your workshops. That always brings more attendees in my experience, because there's now a deadline. People read stuff and think, oh, I'll check my diary later. A last call focuses their attention. And so at that point, you've got your list of people who are going to come. And anything from 2 or 3 to, I would say, about 12 is good. The 13 on Saturday was slightly too many, if I'm honest. I would have liked a little bit more one-to-one connection with the individual people who were there. But hey, we managed, and I picked it up afterwards. And around that time, but definitely about 8 days before the workshops, you want to have those samples sorted and posted. And those would be about 6 samples. And an essential oil sample is nice. And that can it can be on the little tester strips that are available in Business Tools. And it can be a couple of drops on a strip of paper stapled into the Wellbeing Guide or into the main catalogue, whichever you prefer. I think it's really worth the investment of posting catalogues to people so that they can flick and browse, and your shop stays open to them after the workshop's ended. And although that's an investment in terms of postage in the first time that they attend the workshop, that main catalogue lasts for months. So the current catalogue we've got will change at the beginning of March when we have our spring launch on the 8th of March. And then that catalogue will last all the way through to September. So, you know, it's helpful for people to have the catalogue. And let's face, there's no point in you keeping them all at your house. So dish them out and be generous. Actually, let's just go back. Has anybody got any questions or comments to make on that timeline at the moment?
Yes, about the posting of catalogue. Is it?
Or can you speak up slightly? I can't hear you.
Or maybe a microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yep, much better. Thank you.
I think I had my earphone mic plugged in. Is it okay to take the catalogues and the kits of samples and stuff to your host if they are happy to give them to their friends, or do you not do that?
If they're local, Shirley, then I think that's perfectly reasonable to do if they're happy to do it. Some people are more cautious about being out.
This is
And
the
I
thing
think if
about
they're
being
local enough to you for you to be able to get to the host, they're probably local enough for you to deliver to the customers.
Yes, okay.
But maybe that would be on a case-by-case basis. I don't think there's a general rule about that. I've had some hosts for whom all the samples have been posted out, because what's lovely about virtual workshops is it doesn't actually matter where any of their guests live.
Yes, yes.
Um,
So maybe with the restrictions on traveling at the minute, it might be safer to use postage just now.
Yeah, I think so. I think mostly, if having said what I've just said about virtual hosts, one of the workshops I did before Christmas, they were all people within a couple of miles of my home. So I just got creative with dog walks.
Yeah.
You know, and it saves that bit of postage. And what I would say is the investment of postage in your first one, take the hit, because it will balance out against the ones you deliver and the ones that don't need catalogues because they've already got one, etc., etc. But those, you know, those catalogues are pennies each, and I think the investment in your customers in terms of making that first workshop really good is really important.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? People, I'll just check the chat. Oh, that's lovely, Shay. So read the message in the chat of what Shay's just put in there about a birthday party one. Dee's comment as well, just a couple of messages above. Did an essential oil sample in my last 2 Zooms. It really created interaction and cross-selling for diffusers. I absolutely agree with that, Dee. I've sold so many diffusers in lockdown. So we'll come to it when we talk about your display in the actual workshop. Let's keep going with the preparation. So we're about a week before, and if you know the samples are in the post, if you can, do it 10 days before, because the post is really intermittent. I agree with somebody's message in the chat. They are taking a long time, so you need to allow plenty of time for it to get there. My Sunday afternoon workshop was postponed from last Sunday because somebody didn't get them in time. So about a week before the event, you want to set up a group where you can message the attendees. So if you're hosting it yourself, set it up yourself as a workshop WhatsApp group or messenger group. And if someone else is hosting for you, ask the hostess to do that. It's an awful lot easier to have everybody's communication in one place. And if you time travel after the event, you've got a whole group of people to whom you can go back and offer a different theme later, because they're already in a WhatsApp group. And how about we get the same group together for a different theme in a couple of months? Do you see how it starts to get you onward bookings? And then in the days leading up to the workshop, you've got the chance to interact with those people. That's really important to build the kind of excitement and anticipation. But it's also important if they're inviting friends, because it builds a little bit of relationship with you rather than just appearing on Zoom. It's quite interesting, the conversations that can sometimes start beforehand. So you can, as a first post, samples are on their way. Try not to open them before the workshop, kind of create a bit of anticipation. And then obviously you're going to create your Zoom link to join in. So I just wanted to talk about the practicalities of that. Zoom, as you guys know, because you've all come on tonight, you hit the link and you're there. As the person setting it up, you have choice to make on whether you want to have a paid Zoom account. And some of you may be able to piggyback a Zoom account that's being used for working from home in your household. But there is also a free Zoom account where you can have up to 40 minutes on a Zoom free of charge. Now, what I did, because I have a paid Zoom account, because I've been using Zoom for training for years now, I asked around with people who had the free Zoom account to start with. Because you've got that 40-minute limit, I wasn't quite clear on how that works practically. And their advice was this, that you set up the event, even though you've got 40 minutes, you set it up for a 2-hour limit, a 2-hour window of time. And after 40 minutes, or after about 35 minutes, you get a warning that the thing is about to time out. And if you warn the guests beforehand, you've got a good half hour, and then you say, when it times out, we'll have a short comfort break. And then if you hit the same link, you can rejoin. So actually, it gives people the chance to nip to the loo or fill their glass or make another cup or whatever and come back to the Zoom. So it is feasible to do this without a paid account. If you've got a paid account, the Zoom is going to last probably between an hour, hour and a half if everyone knows each other and they want to chat. But no more than that. People get screen weary. I would say an hour or so is the optimum amount of time. Anyone who's been doing these Zoom links, please feel free to message into the chat any comments on it. But going back to the messaging to the attendees, you want to make a couple of encouraging or connecting messages within that week beforehand. So if I give you an example, for the winter skin one that I did on Saturday night, last week I just posted in the group, I used one of the body scrubs today in the shower that I've sent you a sample for. I can't wait to tell you about it. So do you see how it sort of builds the anticipation and the connection, and it says, I'm thinking of you. It's just a nice people connect. Oh yeah, so there's the Zoom link point there. The other thing to say about the Zoom link is when you set up the meeting, tick the little box that says you want a waiting room, because that enables you to keep tabs on people coming into the Zoom. You know their names, and I think Zoom have got really good at the security now, but at the start of lockdown, they had random people joining meetings that they hadn't been invited to just because they were open Zoom links. So all of that's been sorted, but it just is a nice way for you to control who's coming. And I would suggest that you have a list of attendees that you tick off or mark so that you know you haven't forgotten anybody, so you don't start without everybody being there. And then, of course, what you're going to do in that week before the workshop is make sure you've got all your product samples ready. I think it's really nice to show them, if you've got them, the full size version of the bottle, so that they see the product they'd actually be getting if they decided to order it. And you can cheat a little bit. You know, if you featured rose facial oil, as Victoria suggested in her sampling in the chat, but actually in your starter kit you had orange flower facial oil, it doesn't matter, it's the same shaped bottle. Just don't take the label too close to the screen. Okay. So then, with the day before the workshop, you want to set up your online party link. So that is when you go into the ordering system on the consultant website, you want to tick the little box that turns a party order into an online party order. And there's a little video about this in our YouTube channel. So I'm not going to go into the details now, but basically the reason you would do that is that that link that it creates is the one that you send to customers. So that's the one you're going to share to the group as per the second bullet point there. The reason for that is that those online parties collect host rewards from all orders that are put through your replicated website through that party link. So if someone normally shops at your replicated website, it doesn't add to host free and half price shopping. But if they shop through an online party link on your replicated website, it does. So if you're self-hosting, this is a really good way for you to buy the products for the next month's theme, because you get all the free and half price shopping if you've hosted it yourself. So make sure it's an online party link. And if you don't really know the practicalities of that ordering structure, because this is a new venture for you, please ask the person who recruited you or your upline leader, or put it in my, ping me a message or put it into my Facebook group. The other thing to do the day before the workshop is the practical instructions for the workshop, because obviously if you're doing a facial party, you want them to have a bowl with some warm water in, and a face cloth or some cotton pads to take the cleanser off with, and probably a mirror and a hairband. And what I learned is that if I save those instructions to the different themes into the notes in my phone, it saves me having to think about all the instructions every time I book a workshop. Because what you'll find is that as people go on and host for themselves, you're dotting around the themes, and actually you have to try and remember what you said to the last group that you did that theme for. So save the instructions in your notes so that you can just copy and paste them into the group. But you want them to have some things ready, and you'd be amazed, add into those instructions, have your samples and your catalogue to hand. Because I didn't do that to start with back in March, and I was waiting for people ferreting around on their dresser trying to find the envelope that I posted, and you think, why are you turning up to a workshop without these? Isn't this the whole point? But of course people don't, you know, they don't know the process, so spell it out, it's never obvious. On the day of the workshop, you want to remind them of the Zoom link, even though, yes, I know it's in the thread of the conversation above, but you trust me, the Zoom's about to start and you'll be getting questions about how do I join, what's the link? And the start time, that's another important one. And make sure you've got your product notes ready. Just like a customer has to have their envelope ready with their samples in, you've got to make sure you've got your product notes ready. So how many product notes do you need? To be honest, everything you need to say about the products is on your replicated website. Look up each product. Use the product cue cards that I've made that are in belovelies.com. Notes that you've taken watching the YouTube trainings, and the resources in downloads, and just jot some notes on each product that you want to use. My product cue cards I've deliberately kept really plain so that you've got space to write your own stories, anecdotes, notes around them. So basically the top tip here is that from the date of the workshop, you want to work backwards and diarise time to do the preparation properly. Because what you don't want to do is book the workshop and then realise you don't even have the samples. And you've got to get the samples in the post today, but actually it's a really busy day with your other job. You know, time booked in the diary to do these things at the various stages is really important. So if you didn't get the timeline, you'll need to watch this video again if you haven't taken copious notes. Okay, any questions on the prep or comments on what has been helpful? Just unmute and mention a few things. Let's have a little bit of interaction. I'll have a look in the chat whilst you're unmuting.
Does the chat disappear after the Zoom is over?
It doesn't in my settings, Shirley. I have a paid Zoom account though. I don't know if anyone's got a free Zoom account and can answer that question.
It's just that I find it hard to listen and take notes and read the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like looking back through the chat afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love these ideas in the chat there. She's created an A to Z box with revision cards, one for each product. So she can pull out the cards and whichever product she needs. I love that. My version is a concertina wallet with all the workshop themes in. So I just pull out the workshop with whatever relevant information. It's a really good idea because, guys, these are here to stay. Whichever works for you is best. Thank you for putting the channel up, Jackie. Any other comments or questions on this prep time? Is it helpful? Helpful idea? Okay, get some thumbs up. That's good. Okay, right, let's go on to the actual event, So have your screen where they can see you and the products and diffuser that's next to you. If you've got a diffuser, definitely have that with you. And and working with whatever blend is lovely for you for the workshop. So I quite often do mine at my dining room table, because it's quite easy to have products next to me, and then I just have my computer lifted slightly. You can do that on a box of books or a stand with the screen bent downwards slightly, so you are in the picture and the products on the table are in the picture. You want them looking at those bottles. Let the bottles be sitting there going, you want me, because it's not the same as a sachet. And it also means that as you talk through the products, you can pick up the product and show it to them, so that you're kind of bringing the catalogue to life basically as you go. And it might be obvious, but this isn't a presentation. Think conversation and chat rather than presentation. So be sitting down, it's more relaxed. Some of my workshops I've done sitting on my sofa. I've had to take everything off the coffee table. We've got a sort of sofa arm height table next to the sofa we put our cups of tea and stuff on. And I just took all that off and set up my display on that table, sort of next to me, and another table with my computer on. It took ages to set up, but it was so cozy. You might want to do your sleep workshop lying on your bed with cushions propped up behind you. You know, why don't you suggest to the guests that that's where you are for the sleep workshop? It really needs to be the chance just to be together. And it's not a business meeting. It's not a corporate event. Just keep it chilled. Another little top tip is to welcome each person as they come into the group by name. Dress code of PJs, I love that. Bed's your favourite place, Dee. Good, she's going to do so many sleep workshops. I can see it coming now. Welcome each attendee as they enter the event. That's really important, because in the same way as you'd open your front door and welcome each person in if they were coming to your house for a workshop, think of it like that. So as their picture appears, if you've got your Zoom on gallery view, which you can change in the top right hand corner, you'll have a little picture of everybody coming in. And it's really important to wait till their audio is connected and then just say hello when there's a little break in the conversation. And then in the actual thing, just enjoy the products together. I said on the winter skin training that I did last week, if you have skin that is too dry at this time of year, that's because you're not running enough workshops. Dana, stop drawing on my screen. Don't know where you got your pen from there. Yeah, it's because you're not doing enough workshops if your skin's dry. Just enjoy the products. Saturday night, I went through body scrubs and body butters and facial products that are nurturing over winter. Sunday afternoon, I had a full facial. You know, there have to be perks to being a consultant and grabbing virtual workshops, don't there? And that was it. So make the most of enjoying the products. And also what that will do is it will slow down your pace, because actually if you're rubbing the products in and enjoying them, you'll allow the same amount of time for customers to do the same. And whilst you're getting lost in the products, that allows for a bit of silence or a bit of discussion. If you just are talking whilst they enjoy the products, you'll probably talk too much.
Yes, and it's more genuine if you are actually enjoying them. You know, you'll get more feedback, I'm sure.
Absolutely. It's all right, Dana. Thanks for the apology. Shay's had 2 facials today. It is the best job in the world. And you know what? It's an amazing recruiting message. And then at some point in the event, just make sure that you tell them they've got 3 choices as to how to connect with this brand. Perhaps at the end, oh, I've lost the end of my sentence, when you're telling them what happens after the event was the end of that sentence. Because on the back of the catalogue, it says join, share and shop. And you can just say, you know, actually for some people, being a customer is the best option for them. And for others, people want to be customers, but also from time to time a host. And if you turn to your catalogue to the host pages, I think it's page 6 and 7, and just get them to have a look. at the benefits of being a host. And then actually for some people, actually the best fit is to do what I'm doing and be a consultant. And if you've sat there with a glass of bubbles, or you've been lying on your bed rubbing delicious products into yourself, it does look quite attractive as a job, doesn't it? And they might just be curious enough to want to ask a few more questions or read some information about that. So don't just make it about the product. Make sure that you don't do them a disservice of missing out the other two choices that they've got. It's our job to tell them, and it's their job to choose. Okay, what about after the event? So these ideas have come really from those of us who've needed to do it badly at first, fine tune it and adapt over the last few months. Straight away, a message in the group that you were chatting to them about the workshop beforehand, straight away a message to say thank you for attending. And then post the link for ordering again as a reminder. Yes, I know it's in the thread above, but they don't cotton on, or they just half saw it. And it's also good to remind them that there's free postage for over £40 orders. That's really notching up the customer spend. The suggestion would be that you limit the time for the end of ordering. Some people do 2 days, I do 3 days. I would say any more than that, and people think, oh great, well I'll do it another day then. And then they don't. There isn't a reason why that all that information and enthusiasm is going to stay in their heads for any longer than that amount of time. And then do offer that if they've got any questions as they're choosing the products to order, they can post that in the group or message you privately. The vast majority of customers who want to connect on that level, to me, certainly do that privately, because they don't want their choices to be seen, or they don't want their concerns or their questions to seem silly. It's a really nice way to build that customer bespoke service where you've got one-to-one time. And then if you've had situations where the guests have brought friends, you know, the ones who were suckers for your goodies that you offered, personally pick up contact with those newbies. So the friends of guests, you obviously want to convert them into ongoing customers. So you want to offer them the chance to be part of whatever customer communication you have. Would you like to be in my WhatsApp group for ongoing offers and workshops? That kind of stuff. What did you enjoy about the workshop? Just questions that engage them and build the relationship. Sue's raised a good question on the chat. Sue, good question. Do people do this on your phone and not a laptop? It is possible, but Victoria, I just wonder if you just unmute and talk about your, I mean, even on a tablet rather than a phone, your sense on that from Friday.
Yeah, and so
Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday. So I had a problem. I used a tablet and I couldn't get to see everyone on the screen, which made it really much harder to interact with everybody and keep everyone involved, because I could only see 4 people at a time. So I would check that you can get gallery view on whatever device you're using. I think the bigger the screen also just makes it easier for you to be able to see everyone personally. So I will be going on to a laptop next time because I can get the gallery view, and it's probably a bigger screen as well. That's what I found.
Yeah, thank you. I think that connection with the customers is really important. Nina, to answer your question in the chat, you can order for local attendees. I wouldn't necessarily ask everyone to use the online party link. What I tend to say is, for those of you who don't live near to me, here's the best way to do it is through the online party link, and the order comes direct to you. If you live close to me and you have the option of having that order delivered to you, please message me and we can sort that out between us. So you encourage people to basically pick that up with you offline.
Do you mean pick up with you offline about where the stuff will be delivered to?
Yeah, so if they're wanting to place an order, they just say, would you rather I order through the link, or are you happy to drop it off like you did last time? That kind of thing. That's the kind of message you get.
Yeah, some people just like to tell you what they want and get you to order it for them.
Absolutely. And I had an interesting one today, actually, from Sunday's workshop. The host had her mum there, and her mum wanted some things to be delivered to her, and she lives in Oxfordshire, but she also wanted to buy some things for the daughter, who was the host, who lives not far from me, for her birthday. So actually, you know, as consultants, we can work that out, can't we? I was able to just divide that up and work it out, and I will deliver Gemma's stuff to her, and the mum's stuff has gone direct to her. But as a customer, she didn't want to have to do the mental gymnastics of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was glad she picked it up and asked. Personally connect with any potential hosts. So when you're chatting about the 3 choices, if people are really concentrating on those host reward pages, look for clues in the chat. Look at the people whilst you're talking, not in the chat, in the gallery view. And if you've got people there who've got several guests, they're potential hosts. And the reason for that is you want onward bookings in your diary. So actually scooping up the clues that people have given to you and being in touch with those people you may well find that you get bookings from the workshop you've just done. They might not offer themselves as a host there and then. In fact, rarely do they. It's only in the conversations that you have afterwards with them that comes out. Shirley, yes, we do send samples to the friends of guests as well. So basically they're coming as a brand new customer to the workshop. Yeah.
So if you say to your guests, if you want to bring a friend, that's great. And you maybe give them a wee incentive, you know, or say they'll get a wee extra goodie.
Yeah.
But then you need them to give you their friend's address as well, so that you can send samples to that address.
So the way I do that is I say, please, can you give your friend my phone number and ask her to message me? Because then they're not handing out their friend's contact details. Some people might be funny about that.
Yes.
So the friend messages and says, I'm Jill's friend and I'd like to come to your workshop. And at that point, you can pick up one-to-one connection with them, ask them for their address, have they heard of Neal's Yard Remedies before, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay. So give your details out.
Yeah, so great that your friend wants to come. Please, will you give her my phone number?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the other good thing about that, Shirley, is if you're working in WhatsApp, you want your number to be saved in that person's contacts, because otherwise they don't see the messages if you add them to a broadcast list.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you start the process of them saving you as a contact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all right. So on the day of the ordering deadline, you can thank the group for the orders that have been placed and a reminder of the deadline. It is an effective nudge for more orders. It works exactly the same way as the last call for the workshop. It focuses people's attention, and you find you get a little flurry of orders. So if you've got an external host, you don't want her to be having put in her order until that final flurry has happened, because obviously it will probably grow her free and half price shopping. But what would be a good idea is to ask the host to start looking. So my host of Sunday afternoon, I messaged her today and I said, you're already on £25 free shopping and £30 half price. Hope you're making a list. And I got, oh, how exciting. You know, so that's not the end, because the deadline isn't until tomorrow night. But she's already looking, and that just saves the time in wrapping up the orders at the end. Okay. And then, of course, the kind of goodbye is really what let them know of the new theme to come. It'd be lovely to see you, some of you, at the Age Well, Stress Less workshop next month, or the sleep one that's coming in March. And that's where that consistency really starts to build contact, because they might not be able to make every month, but they can pick and choose the themes if they know what's coming up in the next little while. So to round it all off, hang on a minute, before we do that, let's just have a look in the chat. Yeah, great. Thanks for picking up that question, Dee. The link, the online party link, lasts for 5 days. So the benefit of only giving them 2 or 3 days is also that actually you've then got time with the host to sort out what her 3.5 price shopping is, wrap up the party before the party ends. So would you like some top tips from those who've been doing it for the last 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, 9 months, etc.? I asked a few people for their top tips, and here are some of the answers they gave. Ask your best regular customer or regular customers, family and friends, to help you practice with the first couple of workshops. This helped me lots, and they're still attending to try more and different products. So the practice obviously wasn't too bad from that consultant, because they're still coming back. But that's a good place to start in getting some hosts outside of yourself, basically. Danielle, I love the yes. I do want to hear the top tips. Here's another one. Engage with each participant using their name. It relaxes them and it relaxes you. Use the resources on your replicated website and catalogue. For example, share the frankincense video on your website when using a frankincense product. Use the facial massage page in the catalogue for an easy demo and a lovely experience. And there are several nice things you can do with that. We were talking about Wild Rose Beauty Balm in the winter skin one on Saturday. And I just afterwards, I promised them the link to the Rose Hip sustainability story, which is on our replicated website. So I just sent the link so they could have a read. A lot of people want to engage with the stories behind the products. So absolutely use the resources that are available. And if you type Neil Judd Remedies into YouTube, you'll find lots of nice little videos there. There's a lovely one for the Frankincense Intense Cleansing Melt. You know, just little screen shares, which is an option on Zoom. Then you can change the voice, basically. Enjoy and really obvious, smile. Because it makes a difference when you're delivering. If you're a bit frowny or a bit, you know, when you're anxious, sometimes your smile drops, doesn't it? And infectious enthusiasm sells a lot of product. So just enjoy what you're doing. Keep it simple with products. About six is fine. More can be confusing. I like this one. I'm going to try this one. I'm going to steal this from the person who offered this. Add a sample for them to try in advance of the workshop. So pack it separately from the ones that you want them to keep for the date. It's a great way to get the conversation started at the beginning of the workshop. And I've sold some of those sampled products. So although it isn't a product that is a main feature in the workshop, if you've got some spares, put it in, stick it to a card and say, this is one for you to enjoy beforehand, or something like that. Start at the date of the workshop and work backwards in your diary so that you have time to do the prep well. That one comes from a very organised and structured person, and who I would say is the consistency queen. So take note. Have the notes on one side of the screen and Zoom on the other, so you can set it up in a different presenter view. I have no idea how this happens. So if one of you, I actually had this one from a couple of people when I ask for tips. If either of you are on the call and want to unmute and just explain how you do that on Zoom, how you get the split screen, that would be good. But actually, you know, I'm sure we can work it out. But basically the idea is so that you can see the notes on the screen whilst you're seeing your guests. That way you don't lose your train of thought or panic that you don't know anything about the products.
I've done it, Sian.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes.
It's a great cheat, and I actually checked afterwards with my sister. My sister couldn't even tell that I'd done it, so it's quite good. So basically all I did was got the Zoom screen, so I'm doing it on a computer, and I just minimized it really small so that I could still kind of see people. And then I got the workshop cards in downloads on my main screen so that I can see them. So I've got the people in a little tiny screen at the top by where the camera is, so it looks like you're looking at them, but you're actually reading your notes. So you can subtly just kind of word the lines down while you're reading stuff. And then obviously you're making eye contact and you're chatting to them as well, and you know, and you sort of go and chatting about other things along the way, but then you can kind of get into the reading the facts out again, because I'm not very good at remembering facts. I'm great about buzzing about how much I love things, but yeah, so that really helped me be more confident and stop me getting nervous beforehand as well, because I knew that I had a backup.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that when it's in that mode, if you click on the little picture of the people, it gets bigger again, doesn't it? And then if you move it slightly and click on the product cue cards, it reduces down the people again. So you can actually open it and close the group that you're looking at different times, depending on when you're wanting to read stuff. But that doesn't change the picture for them. They still see you the same size. Yeah, thank you so much for that. That's really helpful. And the last one is watch back the videos of, I started calling these socials because they're Zoom socials, virtual workshops, whatever you want to call them, back from April, because that's when we started recording them, and they're all in the team YouTube channel. And it just will, I think, give you a feel for all the different themes and ideas. There's lots of product information in there, but for this person, they said that was really helpful for them. Okay, so gallery view once more.
Can I just ask something, Sian, please?
Yes, I was going to say, any questions? Go for it, Emmanuel. You can be first.
What's the email address of BeLovely website, please?
www.belovelies.com.
Okay, thank you.
I just basically needed a place for all of the recordings to be. So if you click on the Zoom part of that website, they're all there. And what Lucy, who runs it, and I are doing at the moment is matching up the product cue cards with the Zooms. Because of course all that stuff gets dumped in my Facebook page, and then 6 months later you're like, where the heck's that? So yeah, it's all in there, and BeLovelies is going through a bit of a revamp. I was going to say a B-vamp. So yeah, have a look, because there's some resources there, and there's so much, isn't there, in Resource Guys. You've got all of Lynn's organic originals, you've got downloads, you've got BeLovelies, you've got Facebook training and YouTube training and printed training. And to be honest, Ignorance on Fire is the best way to sell the product, because it's the product that does the talking. This isn't about being perfect. None of us who started this several months ago were perfect. It's a case of just doing it and engaging with your customers. And then, as I said earlier, do, review and apply. When Victoria and I went through her launch event on Thursday night, this morning or this afternoon, I said, what will you do differently next time? And she'd got all the answers because she'd thought all that through in her head. So just think, right, what will I do differently next time? All of us need to just do it again a slightly different way and tweak it. And I think all of us on here who are experienced in these workshops would say the same. But I want to come back to the first point I made, that your customers are going to be missing out if you don't offer the chance to connect with you and the product in this time. And I would also say that actually there are some customers who are all zoomed out, and on my to-do list this week after my winter skin workshop. I need to connect with customers who might like the samples anyway. And what they will probably still purchase. Does it matter to me that they haven't come to a Zoom? It's quite easy, isn't it, just to create a little instruction leaflet, say use this one first, or use this one on your right leg and this one on your left leg. And you know, it doesn't take much, and it is excellence in customer service, and bespoke customer service is the way forward. And I was talking to Ness Withy about this earlier, and we came up with an even better idea. She's got a customer who used to be a host, doesn't want to do host Zooming because she's on Zoom all day. And I said, why don't you suggest to her that she gets together a group of people who don't want to be on Zoom? And you just send out samples to her mates, and they try the products with a flyer with instructions on it, and then collect the orders in. They all message you or what they want to order, or message her as the host, and she gets the 3.5 price shopping for that order. I mean, for goodness sake, if that's not a brilliant idea, you don't even have to do the workshop. All you've got to do is post them some samples. That is the ultimate in virtual. And the key thing really is it's whatever the customer wants. It's not about us. We just have to be creative in whatever anybody wants, and make it work. Right, so what's happening? I had one saying they don't like Zoom, so we arranged a messenger group, video, 3 of us, and it worked, no orders from them. But okay, good. From others, 191 and counting. Brilliant. And I know Rach Bridges is using Facebook Rooms for hers, so it doesn't have to be Zoom. If you've got all your customers on Facebook, I haven't. I've got very few of them that engage on Facebook now, but for her, she's got a real Facebook community. So if that's you, use that. Okay, any other questions? Any other comments? No? So on a scale of 1 to 10 into the chat, how inspired are you to actually go and feel the fear, do it anyway, and do your first workshop? And don't just leave the call. Come on a scale of 1 to 10, commit to the chat. Let's have a look. This is the moment of truth. 11. Oh, Hannah, I love you. Thank you. That set the bar. 10, 8. 10, 8. Now, this is where those of you who are going 3 or 4 aren't willing to put your numbers into the chat. I know. Come on, be honest. 2, Helen. Okay. 2 this weekend, so learn a lot. Good, Dawn. I'm glad. Right, Helen, if you need some more convincing, or you want to have some coaching time just to raise that number 2 upwards, then that's fine. 8, but I'm still scared. Shirley, yeah. Fear comes with it. It's like waiting to go into the dentist, honey. Best thing you can do is just get on with it. It comes with the territory. Good. I'm glad to see some high numbers in there. Any questions at all, please, please just get in touch. Do not let your obstacles be your obstacle. They only need to be bumps in the road. Just be in touch with your upline leader, with me if they're not available, and go for it. Right, just picking up on what Helen's saying in the chat there, just need to tackle the tech. The best way to do that, guys, is to have your next conversation with your upline, the person who recruited you, or the leader above them, actually on Zoom. So you set up a meeting, send them a link. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work, and you just pick up the phone afterwards. And I'm looking at Dee. Dee, do you remember us doing that when you were first, when I started using Zoom for training? Honestly, guys, those of you who are new, these are my leaders, and I started using Zoom, and you'd think that I needed retinal scans for the inner sanctuary of the Pentagon. They were not happy. So come on, Dee, tell us the story. You were just typing it. Go on, just unmute and tell the story. It's funny.
Yeah, I was just actually going to type the same thing, saying, I remember the very day when you said, right, come on, we'll have a practice. You were doing one leader, doing it to all leaders, I think. And it was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Right, come on, put your cup of tea down. We'll do it now. And sent me a link. And I was like, oh, is that it? So yeah. It was, it was one of those where you go, the fear of it was worse than anything. So
isn't that often the way? The fear is far worse than anything. Dawn needs your background, Dee. Constantly sunshiny. Yeah. And I think if you've set up a link, if you set up the link, once you've got over the fear of actually joining a Zoom, which you all have, I'm preaching to the converted because you've all clicked on the link, you're here. So go on a free Zoom, set up the link and arrange a call with me, with your upline. It doesn't matter. With another friend who's a consultant, with your mum, it doesn't matter. And then you've done it. And then what's in the way? So Helen, what's your number now if we're going to get over the technology that way? Bark Remedies, help me. Sharon, I love it. You're on Rescue Remedy to do your first workshop. I love it. What's this? I had a group ask me to use Microsoft Teams instead of Zoom. Yeah. You had a mini leaders meeting on Teams to test it out. Brilliant. Guys, let's just not let technology get in the way. We've got product out there. We're on a mission. Can't change the world one blue bottle at a time if you're going to let Zoom get in the way. Right, okay, time to switch off, 9:45. Thank you so much for joining me. Really glad you found it helpful. Let me know the nuggets and please let me know the results of your first one. I'd love to hear the stories. Let's inspire each other and share the link. If you've got other consultants who weren't able to make tonight, share the link so that we can share the ideas with everybody else. All right, sleep well. Okay, let's rock the virtual world. Bye.